Just went up.
What is that?
A little static, maybe. Hat static.
God. What was that? Get out of here.
Trimmed your beard for the first time in forever. Your beard's freaking out.
Maybe so.
What do you do to me?
What have you done? It's how you know that, like, when people look at you, they see beard.
Yeah.
Is like, I trimmed probably a good 2 inches off of this beard all the way around, and not a single person noticed. I did this days ago. I've done like 5 Highdeologies since I did it.
No one's like, oh.
Nobody's been like, Paul's beard look remarkably shorter. It's like, no.
Well, you got the hair too. It's like a whole thing where it comes together.
Yeah.
You know what people are like weirdly aware of is like weight loss. Even if it's like a tiny bit, it's like everyone notices for some reason.
Oh yeah, and it's like a cultural pastime to mention it too. If you lost weight, what have you been doing? Oh, nothing, just...
It's like I literally dropped off a check to the landlord. She's like, have you lost weight? It's like, maybe?
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't super noticeable even on my own face until I was scrolling through a Highdeology from before I did it.
Yeah.
And I saw it, like, I was like, whoa. Yeah, well, when you got, like, the poofy beard and shit, it doesn't look very different to anybody else to keep it slightly trimmed. Ricola.
Can't believe that bitch came back.
What?
That Swedish prime minister that like quit after a few hours. They put her back in.
Oh, yeah. Abandoned Hope last night was a hoot. Good. Should be.
It was Hollywood Love.
Hollywood Love showed up, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Ghislaine Maxwell is all the news can talk about. Hey, we got to have another one. Got to have another trial for everybody to get invested in and shit.
I know, like conspiracy people are like, why is no one talking about it? It's like, you guys are talking about it an awful lot.
You guys and everybody else, but whatever.
It's not front page news, so it's not being talked about enough.
I guess.
It's mainly just because they're not allowing cameras in there. It's like people just aren't as entranced by court drawings.
Yeah. Had some like pilot that used to work for Epstein name names in her trial recently, a couple days ago. He was like, he dropped the Clinton, he dropped the Trump.
Just very confusing for me because a lot of like Trump people are obsessed with the whole Epstein thing, but just ignore Trump being part of that.
Ignore all the pictures of him and Trump chilling.
Yeah.
He was just keeping his enemies close.
I guess. I feel like the QAnon thing has evolved past Trump at this point. It's like its own being now.
It has to be. It has to be to keep people showing up for shit. Yeah, righties are weird. I don't get why these Illuminati types find mental flexibility to still be partisan. Yeah, I don't know either. It's all just a show to a lot of people. That's really what it comes down to. You know, it seems a little trite to continuously say it, but it really is a football game to most people who play the game of politics. It's a my team versus your team thing. And it really doesn't go beyond that. Are you into any fantasy universes, Paul? I don't seem to catch you getting in any discussion-wise, but I missed quite a few streams. Yeah, I'm getting deeper and deeper into Warhammer 40k shit. It is literally like the most manly shit that I've ever read in my entire fucking life. Like, it takes that little coal of like pure childhood glee, like that kid, like being a kid running around outside with a bucket on your head pretending to be Darth Vader and shit. It takes that feeling and updates it for like adults. It really is. It's just like all that is man. Like, the future is manliness. I just want you to know. The year 40,000, it's well, there's, I'm not even gonna say it's just manliness, but I'm telling you, the books that I'm reading right now, it's all about like, I'm reading a series of 40k novels called the Horus Heresy. And for those of you that don't know anything about 40k, Horus is, I don't even know how to even start it, but he's the leader of a bunch of badass space marines. He's the war master. So he's like a head and shoulders taller than a space marine, and a space marine is already a genetically modified human. So in order to even be a space marine, you have to be this thing called an Astarte, which like they give you like redundant organs and shit. So if you get shot in a lung, you've got like 2 other lungs and shit. They make you bigger, stronger, and psychologically change you. The most profound way that they change you is they make you like immune to fear. So these dudes are basically giant walking tanks that are immune to fear. And the books are about them like traveling around the galaxy, finding like a planet or something that has something on it that isn't in compliance with the human Imperium, and they drop down there and they destroy it.
Dinor, please. This isn't your neighborhood. This is your yard. That's it.
Immune to fear sounds dangerous. Yes, it is. No, dude, the Tyranids are not the most terrifying thing about Warhammer 40k. You want to know what the most terrifying thing about Warhammer 40k is? The Dark Eldar. So in this universe, the Eldar are kind of like elves, right? And they're like an ancient race. And they perfected their society. Here's what happened to them, right? So they kept like eliminating social ills in their society as millions and millions of years went along, to the point where like they basically gave birth to the perfect society. Like no war, no death, no, I mean, it was just like no disease. Everybody was happy. But because of that, their entire culture started to become more and more like into like emotional stimulation and carnal pleasure. It's not just sex. It's like because their lives were so free from toil and concern, they had to, as a species, they started to flood themselves with these like, it's like everything had to be more. They had to feel things more because it was like there was no toil in their lives. They had to have more sex. They had to have more drugs. And so they, as a society, got more and more degenerate to the point where literally they ripped a hole in the immaterium, this thing called the warp. It's like basically hell in the 40K universe. Like there was so much concentrated energy from all this shit that they were doing that it ripped a hole in the warp and killed like 90% of the species. Like 90% of the species had their souls sucked out of them by this new chaos god named Slanesh, who is the prince of passion, or the prince of pleasure, the prince of pleasure. And so the remaining 10% of Eldar that weren't on that planet had to cope with the fact that their entire race now was being like, it was connected to the creation of a chaos god. And so the Dark Eldar, it's kind of hard to explain, but like basically like they were not on the planet. They were not like on the home planet when this big thing happened and everybody died and this new chaos god was born. They were close enough that they're just barely able to overcome losing their own souls to Slanesh. And in order to do that, they have to be like the most degenerate things. They were in the webway. Yeah, that's right. They have this traveling thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. They managed to dodge it, but only just. So they've got all this passion but it's more than passion. It's like everything to the extreme. So when they capture you, like the Tyranids, like that's why I say the Tyranids are not all that scary in comparison to the Dark Eldar, because the Tyranids, if they capture you, right, all they want to do is eat. Like the Tyranids are like the Zerg. In fact, the Zerg are literally based on the Tyranids. StarCraft was supposed to be a Warhammer 40K property. That's why it has Space Marines and the Eldar and all that shit. So the Tyranids are literally the Zerg. Their whole motivation is like, we're an insectoid race. We move from planet to planet consuming whatever we can. That's scary enough. Dude, the Dark Eldar, they have to capture you and turn you into an eternal slave. So basically they capture you. They pump you full of drugs that make you constantly in pain. They torture you, torture you, torture you, torture you. But they prevent you from dying, because that like pain that you release or whatever, it satisfies Slanesh enough so that Slanesh won't take their souls. And so basically they'll use you up for years and years and years. And finally, when you're not reactive enough, like when you've finally gotten to the point where it's just like even the most painful thing, like your brain has just like shut off, they turn you into like a trophy. They crunch your body all up into like a different form, and they keep you forever. So they like will turn you into like a robe or turn you into a fucking lamppost or some shit and put you in their house, and it's just like this. So like that's way more terrifying than getting eaten by the Zerg, dude. Yeah, if the Zerg come, you're probably gonna die, dude. You get taken in a fucking Dark Eldar raid, and you're literally just gonna be there. You're literally just gonna be fucking tortured for eternity. Or they're light Eldar, kind of, yeah. Like there were Eldar that were far enough away from the planet that they weren't corrupted by Slanesh, but there are so few of them that they have a hard time. Like I said, 90% of the race was destroyed, and they still have to be really conscious of it, because even though they're not necessarily as called as some of their brethren are to Slanesh, their race is connected to it. Right now, as far as I know, the light Eldar live in these big, giant, like planet ships, where there's like 1 billion of them on a ship, and there's different ships of different cultures, but they're like the last remaining Eldar that aren't corrupted by the warp. So technically, yeah, there are light Eldar. But yeah, the Eldar are all psychers in this universe. That's like people that it's basically wizards or warlocks or whatever. There are certain people in the 40K universe who can access the warp and use its power. Some of them are good guys, some of them are bad guys, obviously. Some people can control it, some people can't. That's the whole point of chaos in 40K, is that it tempts people with power from the warp. There's another thing about 40K that a lot of people misunderstand too. I think a lot of people think that the warp, and I am guilty of, kind of like, as I'm selling it to you guys, a lot of people think of the warp as like hell, but it really isn't. There are four gods that oversee the warp. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember them all. There's Khorne. He's the blood god. He's about war. That's all he cares about. He won't lie. He won't cheat. All he wants is blood, blood, blood. He wants you out there making war. And there's Nurgle, or Nurgla. Nurgle is like the god of entropy. So he's all about decay, disease, pestilence, rot. And then there's Slanesh, all about drugs and sex and violence. And Tzeentch, yeah, Tzeentch is the hardest one to explain. Tzeentch is like the god of change. And so a lot of people think these gods are evil, but the aspects of the warp are not necessarily inherently evil. Even though they're presented as cutting a very evil countenance, each one of them represents something that isn't at the core of it evil, and they represent the whole spectrum underneath that. So like Khorne, for example, you might think, oh yeah, but he's really about survival of the fittest. He's ultimately very fair, and so he's that part of the balance of nature. You know what I mean? At the center of survival of the fittest is Khorne. So without Khorne coming from the immaterium and having that emotional effect on conscious beings here, there would be none of that, right? Same thing with Tzeentch. It's like Tzeentch is the god of change, and change is a very frightening thing and can be a very frightening thing, but change is also hopeful. Change means you're never stuck in your situation. Change means you can change your course of action, you can change your life. That's not an inherently negative thing, right? Slanesh being the prince of passion, right? Passion is not an inherently negative thing. It is if you take it to an extreme. Too many drugs, too much sex, too much indulgence, too much hedonism. But passion is also, the root of a lot of amazing ideas and amazing interactions with people, and Slanesh governs that. And the same thing for Nurgle, right? Nurgle, you look at Nurgle, you read about Nurgle, you think about Nurgle, pestilence, disease, decay. But Nurgle is really about, like, finality, right? And that is comforting. It's like we all die, we all rot, everything goes to entropy eventually. None of this is permanent. And for people like me and a lot of people, there's a base level comfort in that, right? We all kind of face the same thing. That's at the base of Nurgle. And so it's a misunderstanding that the warp is just some evil thing. It's not. In fact, it's the Imperium of Man that really kind of personifies evil in the 40K universe, in my opinion. The duality between the gods is cool too. Nurgle and Tzeentch counteract each other. Entropy versus change, obviously. Yep. Same with Khorne and Slanesh. Self-improvement versus self-degradation, right? Yeah, there are really no good guys in the 40K universe. If you've ever heard the term grimdark, it comes from 40K. There's a quote from a 40K literature: in the grimdark future, there is nothing but war. And so there is no good guy in the 40K universe. The good guys are all tyrannical, insane, imperialist, religious zealots who, at the very thought of somebody who doesn't believe the way they do, will investigate them, kill them, wage war on them. What or who do you find most fascinating in the 40K verse? I don't know. I just really like the world building of it. I like this idea that, mankind has spread throughout the galaxy, throughout the Milky Way galaxy, and has taken a billion different worlds and is, always trying to keep these worlds together and to keep and to constantly expand that. I don't know. There's just something about the world building. It just provides for just like a lot of really cool characters and really cool battles and interactions and stuff. Yeah, the Imperial Guard are pretty interesting because they're just basically like Christian said, they're just normal people. Like in a world of like genetically modified super soldiers and demons and fucking wizards and shit, they're just your average Joe. You know what I mean? There's just a billion of them. Each one of them has like a las gun, and you just send them out there, man, for the glory of the Emperor. It's a channel called the Exploring Series. Yeah, there's tons of it out there. There's tons of information out there. Like, if you get bit by the bug, the 40K lore bug, at least, there's tons of YouTube channels out there that go way in depth. And yeah, I don't think I could ever get into like, because 40K is the lore in it is based on like a tabletop game where you buy miniatures and you paint them yourself, and there's a whole game you play against the other person's army. So you could have like, I don't know, I've seen people with armies that got like 50 pieces in them, and you have to individually purchase and hand paint each one of those pieces. And some of them are like, this big if they're normal human size, and some of them are like these giant war machines. And yeah, I don't think I could really see myself getting into that. But I like the lore. I like the lore that they've made around the whole thing. 56 40K novels in total, yeah. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, 56 official, like, lore novels or whatever. As of right now, I've read the Eisenhorn Trilogy, which is really good. Eisenhorn is good because a lot of times, like, in this newer series I'm reading, the Horus Heresy, which follows a group of space marines, it's like there's not a lot of room for intrigue there. They make it happen. They make a little intrigue happen, but it's basically just big dudes landing on the planet, shooting and fighting and cutting things down with their chain swords and shit. Eisenhorn is an inquisitor, so he's like a space detective. But think about it, like think about a detective, but if you gave them ultimate power. Like, the Inquisitors are probably the most powerful people in the 40K universe outside of the Emperor, just simply because they're the only people that can order the destruction of an entire planet. Like, it's up to them to decide, like, all right, look, dude, this planet, there's too much heresy here. It's going to cost the Empire too much to take this planet back from Slanesh or Khorne or whatever cult has infested it. So exterminate the whole fucking planet. And there's a number of ways they'll do that. They will, like, poison the atmosphere with radiation. They'll just blow up everything on the surface with nuclear bombs, or in some cases they'll crack the planet, like literally, like, send a big bomb with a drill that goes to the core and blows up and shatters the planet. But the only person in the entire Imperium that can order that is an Inquisitor. So even though Inquisitors usually, find themselves involved in smaller scale investigatory stuff, if that investigation leads them to find, like, that an entire planet has been tainted or that there's too many aliens on a planet, fuck it. Turn that shit into a molten slag heap from space. Exterminatus. It's better to sacrifice 1 billion innocent lives and kill one heretic than it is to let the heretic free and kill 1 trillion, right? Well, that's the thought process. Yeah, we'll restock the Doomer shirt and hoodie, I'm sure, at some point. We're trying not to, like, overflood the shop with a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, like, I think part of the reason the face shirts didn't do well is there was just so many different listings for them because
Right.
it was such a pain in the ass.
So, Bonfire is actually working on making our own, our own shop front on their end. And at that point, we'll be able to offer everything. It'll look a lot better. But yeah, the Doomer shirt will be coming back. Maybe find some other places to use that.
And something else sexy is in the works, too.
That's true. There's always something sexy in the works. I wish it were possible for you and TJ to do a show where you explore music together. I agree with you that we're in the golden age of music, and TJ is seriously missing out. I don't know if we're in the golden age of music, but I don't think, like some people do, that music sucks now or is shittier now than it has ever been or whatever. But yeah, it's hard to it's hard to really have a conversation like that where you can't listen to music, Wish y'all had, like, loose style tank tops. Yeah, we'll look into it. I think especially for the warmer months and stuff, like launching some looser tank tops and stuff might be kind of cool.
There's just a lot of fats in the audience that probably wouldn't get them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, don't give me recommendations for TJ. You save those for TJ.
He streams almost as much as you do.
The crazy thing about that is like TJ's my friend, so if I have a band or something that I want to like turn TJ onto, I do that. I think that modern musicians have the weight of history stacked against them. See, that's just like a really backwards way of looking at music. They have the weight of history pushing their movement forward. Music is not this closed off thing where it's like, this is an era, and then nobody does that anymore. This is an era. It all blends, it all becomes something else. So if you were to take, I don't care what it is, dude, grab the fucking dirtiest trap song from right now, grab Wet Ass Pussy or whatever the fuck, trace the etymology of that song, you would end up with tribal music. You would end up with classical music, horns and fucking strings and all of this shit. It's all there. So that's wrong-headedness when it comes to music. Modern artists are, if anything, propelled by the tidal wave of history when it comes to music.
Music's always evolved based on previous forms of it or going back to it.
Yep. Integrating it with another type of music, mixing it. I mean, that's the roux at the center of the gumbo that is American music. The music of all these different immigrants. Irish immigrants, British immigrants, German immigrants, French immigrants, Dutch immigrants, African immigrants, East Indian immigrants. They all brought their particular flavor of music here, and it blended together to make what we have today. We're the center of the musical world. The United States, you say what you want about the United States, we're the center of the entertainment and musical world. You know, even if you go to a place like South Korea where K-pop is super popular, you know, K-pop is like 80s bubblegum pop. They've taken an American musical style and refined it and made it culturally relevant, but it's all you trace that back, you trace K-pop back to its roots, and it's the same shit.
Brits can't even fucking touch us on rap. Their rap.
Oh my god, their rap is ass, bro. I can't take a Brit rapping fucking seriously. I just can't do it. No matter how hardcore they sound, it's just like a chimney sweep.
Spanish people do good rap, though.
That's true. Yeah, like Hispanic rap is pretty good. I like Mexican rap is pretty good. Like it sounds pretty hardcore. It's just you can't, like French rap is the same way. It's like the language is too pretty for French people to sound like. I've listened to French rap, and let me tell you, dude, it's like wiping your ass with silk.
Do you think Russian rap would be good?
I'm sure it is. Like all you need is to have a little bit of actual like hardcoreness in your culture to make rap take root there.
Yeah.
And there's something, dude. Russia's hardcore as fuck. So I'm sure Russian rap is pretty dank.
I know German metal is definitely.
Well, yeah, Germans and Scandinavians took metal and ran with it. You know what I mean? They created the crazy shit that I can't even listen to. Speaking of music, what did you think of that Post Malone song, Motley Crue? I really like it. but did they pitch his voice? I think it'd be just as good with his normal tone. Almost every singer now, anybody that does like tonal singing, especially in trap, is auto-tuned now. And it's gotten so good that it just sounds amazing. Like even singers that are really good, you can create perfect tonal transition and perfect pitch with auto-tune. And so Post Malone's been open about that from the very beginning. Somebody asked him very early on in his career, how did you do it? Like what broke you? And he kind of half jokingly, I think half not, he said, I got some cornrows and I use a lot of auto-tune. And I think that like that's probably true. There's a style in trap where people are like over auto-tuned, where like they do it the old way, where you can really hear it and it's done stylistically, and then a lot of them are just, it's done in a way that like a lot of people just think, oh man, he's really crooning. It's kind of sad though, is it?
I don't think it's really cheating. It's just a different way of doing it.
I mean, you could call it cheating or whatever, but it makes some banger fucking songs, so who cares? You know, let people, like, that's what music has always been about, is taking the fucking kind of like paradigm and turning it on its head.
And ever since they've been able to clarify audio, like, that's a kind of auto-tuning.
True. Yeah. Auto-tune is cheating in the same way that like CGI is cheating. Or green screen, or yeah. I mean, it's the same shit. Like, you can auto-tune somebody's voice. You can't program like you can't just like make a really good song with a computer program only, algorithmically, you know what I mean? Or I guess maybe not yet quite. They've made a couple of songs that are crazy. They've had like AIs take and make a new Nirvana song, and it's not super dead on maybe, but it's like crazy spooky. So it's getting to the point now where like the human element is going to be taken out of making music.
At the very least, acting. Like the fucking shit they can do with
oh my God.
fakes now.
Yeah, there's going to be, like, when they can get deep fakes, like, perfected, and these, like, voice creators perfected, it's going to put a lot of fucking people out of work.
Yeah, it's like, if you can perfect it, why wouldn't you, like, bring back some dead actors?
Yeah. Auto-tune doesn't sound good 99% of the time. It's just a cheap trick to get rid of imperfections in singing. I'd be willing to bet that you don't even know you're listening to auto-tune most of the time when you're listening to auto-tune. There are some people that think all auto-tune sounds like that old, like, mid-2000s rapper Future or whatever, who does the super, like, over-the-top auto-tune shit. I'd be willing to bet that you've heard songs and groove to songs and you didn't even know that they were auto-tuned. Isn't it like 99% of music has some form of auto-tune in it? I'm sure. Everybody uses it.
It's like Kanye, Beyonce, Rihanna.
Everybody.
Travis Scott, Chris Brown.
Yeah. I mean, Travis Scott is known for auto-tune. That's one of his, like, staple things, is really bad auto-tune. He does like the real super old glitchy auto-tune. It's a vibe.
Alice Cooper, Aphex Twin.
Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. They've been using like digitally enhanced vocals and music since God was a boy. Like a lot of the shit that you guys probably like uses digital enhancement on the voice. Marilyn Manson. He may not use a lot of auto tune, but he uses a lot of vocal effects, a lot of growlers, and a lot of fucking, crazy effects on his voice and shit. Sequencers. Nine Inch Nails is the same way. Rob Zombie. I've heard Hooba Stank live. Man, why would you ever go to a Hooba Stank concert, bruh? When that band came out and they were a one-hit wonder, I can't even remember what their goddamn fucking song was. I don't want to be reminded either, so I don't put it in my head. But I remember when that band came out, I listened to their song, and then, the DJ came on and was like, that was Hooba Stank. And I was like, what? Hooba Stank, bro? I knew right there. I was like, this band is going nowheresville. There's no way that a band named Hoobastank is ever going to leave its mark on the world. You know what I mean? Hoobastank, bro. And then you, 20 fucking some odd years later, went to a Hoobastank concert? What's wrong with you? Are you like a glutton for punishment?
I think it's like that meme thing, or like a hipster thing, maybe.
Dude, I wouldn't walk across this street to see Hoobastank play a free fucking concert in that field if they were giving away a free Lamborghini to everybody who attended. I'd go like, who's playing? Hoobastank? Nah, I think I'll stay home. Fuck that. Okay, maybe I would if they were giving away a Lambo, but definitely not if it was just Hoobastank. I would probably go somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe like...
So I didn't have to hear Hoobastank. We'd go to the beach for a couple of days and let Hoobastank clear out, man. Let the Hoobastank fucking... What are they thinking? Why would you name your band Hoobastank? There's like a whole thing to picking band names. There's this band that I really like. They do like alt country, very, very like low key, quiet, pretty music. But the name of the band is Fuck. That's just the band's name, Fuck. And it's like, well, okay, you're the guys that did it. So congratulations, but you're not going to Walmart's not going to sell your album. iTunes is going to be, reticent to put you on the fucking lists and shit. Your name is Fuck. What are you going to do? Bad band names.
What would Jeb Bush's band name be?
Armageddon.
Armageddon.
What's up, everybody? Are y'all ready to rock tonight?
He seems like a kind of dude that would go down that path if push came to shove.
If Bush came to shove, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Armageddon, dude. got to consider those things. Aesthetics matter. As much as people don't want them to, they do. Almost every musical subgenre that courts people's exclusive listenership is that. It's a vibe. It's an aesthetic. People get sucked into the aesthetic of the music, the aesthetic of the band. Very important. In the early 2000s, there's this crazy scene shit going on. You remember that? Mm-hmm. But he had,
Evanescence.
Yep. Fucking blood on the dance floor and, that kind of shit.
Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco. I really like Panic at the Disco. Like, they came out of that era, and I really liked that band. But it was very, very much an aesthetic.
I feel like 3 name band names are pretty good. There's 3-letter band names.
I mean, it depends. You don't want to go much more than 3 or 4 letters in your band name.
Yeah.
Because then people got to say a whole ass sentence.
Yeah. Like MIA, ICP, Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah. NWA. Panic isn't seen. I think Panic is necessarily like hard scene. It's definitely got some elements of that in it. But yeah, I don't think I'd put them in the scene category. Between the Buried and Me, great band, Too Many Words. Yeah, there was like I can't remember the name of the band now, but there was another band that was like that. Oh, there's a metal band that's called And They Shall Know Us by the Trail of Dead. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, just do Trail of Dead.
Yeah, Trail of Dead is metal as fuck. Just be that. You know who's always been, I think, really good at like naming schemes? Rappers.
Yeah.
Some rappers have got some goofy ass names, but most rappers know how to package. They know how to package a name. I'm trying to think of like bad rap names. There's a lot of Lils right now, but hey, that's popular.
I'm surprised DaBaby like blew up. You wouldn't think.
There's multiples too. There's Da Baby, and then there's Lil Baby.
Yeah.
Both competing in the same marketplace. Bubba Sparks is a pretty stupid name. You're right. Leave it to a white rapper.
Ice-T, I still can't believe like the weird career path he went down.
Yeah,
Where he just plays a cop for like the past 20 years or some shit.
Yeah, Ice-T comes out as a rapper, then starts a metal band, and has like a rap, one of the first like rap metal bands ever. Then moves from that to like doing some movie roles, and then ends up playing a cop on a TV show forever. An actual band called Acidic Vaginal Liquid Explosion generated by a mass amounts of filthy fecal fisting and sadistic septic syphilic sodomy inside.
You can't even like abbreviate that.
You can't even like get a friend into that.
Yeah, especially like high. There's no way you could string that together.
It just goes on,
It's like, how do you ask a DJ for that?
I mean, I guess if like they knew they were gonna stand out because of that. Like we're the guys who have a whole ass 2-paragraph band name, you know.
You gotta be capable of being said by people that are a little drunk or a little high.
Yeah.
If you want to get airtime at like the clubs or whatever.
True. Do you miss Seattle? Not really. It's a cool place, but I wasn't there long enough to really miss it.
Yeah, I think you appreciated like certain features of it more, like the public transit and shit.
It was cool, for sure.
Living on top of a grocery store.
It was definitely a different way of living.
It's just too goddamn expensive.
True. True.
For what we're paying here, we'd have to get like a shoebox.
Yep. That late night diner was pretty cool. Yeah, 13 coins is what it was called. And yeah, it's just like a diner that was attached to a hotel, so it was open 24/7 because
people rolling up at whatever time.
So I could go there. It was like a mile walk from where I lived, a real easy walk. And because it's Bellevue, it's real, you know, the streets are fucking empty at night. I would just like walk my ass down there. And you could order anything you wanted any time of the day or night, basically. Sit down at the bar and they'd feed you. They had really good sandwiches there. I remember getting their hot sandwiches. They had a thing called a hot brown that I'd never had before. It's like a Midwest kind of thing. It's basically just like a big turkey sandwich smothered in gravy. It was real good. Yeah, if you're ever in Bellevue, roll through the 13 coins. It's worth it. They got good food there, too. There's a lot of real pretentious eateries in Seattle where it's like, you know, like, all right. Like, there was this one that Ben liked to go to a lot. I remember, like, he would always invite people. He'd invite me to go down there every once in a while. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a upscale kind of like ribs and brewery kind of place, and everything was just like $20 more than it would be anywhere else. It was like right across the street from a Mod Pizza, and I would go to that Mod Pizza like every day, dude. And my ass never went to that other place unless I was invited there, you know.
Yeah, you had some of your bill comped.
It's just like, fuck that. But then there were some that were like that, like more expensive. Like I can't remember the name of it either. But in Seattle proper, there's this German restaurant that's set up like an old beer hall, and you get like German sauerbraten and bratwursts and all kielbases and all the whole nine. You know what I mean? It's like got all the. And I ate there. They got like imported German beers and shit. You just get like a big ass mug of beer, and it's bench seating in there, so it's set up like a big German beer hall. That place was dope. Expensive as fuck, but dope. Like worth, you know, saving up and coming out of pocket for.
My dad and I had like a little tradition for a while where we'd go to Pike Place, and there was this little Chinese place that had like bean cakes that were really good.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good like street food down by Pike. Yeah, I don't know that I'll ever go visit TJ in Louisiana. It would there'd have to some shit would have to happen. There'd have to be like a fucking funeral or a crisis or some big wedding. But I don't even know at this point who'd get married that I would travel down there to maybe. You know what, dude? I'd go down there to see Stevie get married.
Yeah.
But you know,
that's a waste.
We'll see. You never know, dude.
Yeah.
You never do know. But yeah, I mean, if I ever went back down that way, the only place that I'm definitely going to is fucking Radostas. Every other place is optional.
And Waffle House. You gotta go
Well,
to
yeah,
the OG Waffle House.
of course, yeah. If I'm back down south, I gotta go to the fucking Founders Waffle House.
You need a plaque, man.
Yeah, dude, that'd be funny if we could get one. The internet podcast Deep Fat Fried was conceived of and created in this booth. Yeah, little piece of DFF lore for you guys there that a lot of people don't know. That DFF was conceived of in a Waffle House in Covington, Louisiana, in a booth. We knew we were going to start a show, but we didn't know what that show was going to be until we sat down and had that Waffle House. So maybe if someday, if we're really huge, we can get a little plaque there.
Dude, they probably give you a plaque now. It's a Waffle House.
Yeah. Maybe. No, probably not.
Well, if you paid them.
That's not, you don't pay anybody to honor you, dude. That's horrible. No wonder it's called Deep Fat Fried. You were eating them hash browns. Yep. Yeah. Like, we'd kicked around ideas before and shit, but it all congealed at that meeting. We sat there for 2 hours, ate fucking Waffle House, and created the structure that is the show.
Then we'd have to bring Dinor to get a Chelsea groom.
Yeah. Bzz, bzz. But yeah, I'd probably just like try and find a fucking, if I had to go back down there, I'd probably try and find an Airbnb that was near Radostas, so I could just eat at Radostas every day that I was down there.
You might have a hard time though. Like, New Orleans is hella strict on Airbnbs.
Is it?
Yeah. They like basically banned them for a few years.
Oh, well, we had one when we went there for the DP meetup back in the day. We had a fucking Airbnb, right?
I think they started banning it in like 2017 or some shit.
Well, we'd have to look and see what the rules are. But that would be the ideal setup. An Airbnb near Radostas.
You want to go in? That seems like the go in pop-up.
Ready to go in. Shake it. Radostas is Tex-Mex? No. Radostas is an old grocery store that has a deli at the back that has the best po' boy in New Orleans. So it's a sandwich place, basically. But it's set up like no other sandwich place I've ever been to. It's got such an old vibe to it. You walk in, it's like an old grocery store. You order your food, you sit down, you go over to the cooler, you grab whatever soda or beer you want, and then you tally it all up at the end. It's a very old style of eatery. And they've got like an old recipe for their roast beef po' boy that they've been using for, 50 years or some shit over there. And it's the fucking best shit. The Tex-Mex place is Los Palapas. That's like a Tex-Mex kind of chain around San Antonio. There's probably in other cities as well, but it's a Texas like small chain of really good, like it's like the best Tex-Mex shit that I had when I was down there. And I'm usually not a big fan of Tex-Mex, but it was over the top, but really good. Dude, I had a gravy fucking burrito. They make a giant burrito on a plate, and they smother the whole goddamn fucking burrito in gravy and cheese. They melt cheese over the gravy. All right, you won me over. You got me. You had me at hello with the fucking goddamn gravy burrito. Jesus Christ. It was a flour tortilla wrapped around a bunch of ground beef and Mexican rice and cheese and jalapenos and shit. Beans. And then you wrap that whole giant fucking 1-pounder up and then just take like 3 big ladles of gravy over the top of that. And then you just take 2 big handfuls of shredded cheese, melt that over the burrito, and serve. Garnish with a little like iceberg lettuce, a little bit of diced tomato, scoop of guacamole, call it a day. Shit was crazy.
I have a hot take.
What?
Boys are overrated.
I don't think it's all that hot of a take. I tend to agree with you.
And hush puppies, those are hella overrated.
Unless you get really good ones, I agree. Like a fucking dank ass perfect hush puppy is great, but most places that have them, they're not great. And po' boys, especially down in fucking Louisiana, it's a meme. So every place wants to be like, I got the best po' boy. I'm the po' boy master. And it's
It's like a lot of places just don't put shit on it. They just put whatever fucking protein on it and call it a day.
Yeah, it's because, you can't just get it. Just because something is called a po' boy down there doesn't mean you're getting a good sandwich, unfortunately.
You know what I completely forgot to bug you about when we were living down there? I never got a drive-through daiquiri.
You didn't?
No.
I thought you went through
No.
one night and brought us daiquiris.
No.
Well, if we ever go back and visit, drive-through daiquiri for you.
First thing.
Yeah. Straight from the airport to the daiquiri place.
And then if we ever go to Washington, I don't know how you missed out on this. You got to find a bikini barista.
Oh yeah. I didn't even know such a thing was a thing. Bikinistas.
Yeah. Dude, there was one like where the school bus would drive by and like all the boys on the school bus would be like, oh god, see if we can get a glance of the bikini barista.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay because they put tape over it, meds. It's okay to serve somebody just like literally driving a car, a big fucking triple shot daiquiri, because you put a piece of tape over the thing.
Yeah, so it's a closed container.
It's a closed container.
With a straw in it.
With a straw hanging out the front. Oink, oink. Just like implicitly like going like, pull on through here and top up. You know what I mean? On your way to work. Whatever, man. That place is fucking weird, man. People have just come to terms with the fact that it's deadly, you know? There's like bumper stickers on the North Shore where we live that talk about this road, Lee Road, that just like tons of people die on because it's an old ass road that hasn't been updated, that is now like a major cross cut across, so it's like people just hard, there's no soft shoulder, so if you go off the road, you're in the trees. And so that people had bumper stickers that said, pray for me, I drive Lee Road. And it's just like, how about instead of asking people to pray for you because you drive a road that's so dangerous it kills 20% of the people that drive on it? Like, why don't you just move out of there? Just, like, take your family and get the fuck out.
Or just find another way around.
Yeah. Take the long way. Don't use Lee Road,
Although those bumper stickers probably exist in some form in Kelly because of fucking 41.
I don't know. I've never seen one. I've never seen somebody go to the actual trouble of, like, lamenting a horrible road with a bumper sticker in Kelly. Maybe it's happened.
Yeah. It's like apocalyptic, the amount of, like, signs on 41.
Yeah, it is. Everything's kind of apocalyptic nowadays. Apocalypse is nigh. Gotta love it. Gotta love the South. It's a shithole, but god damn it, it's a shithole. You know?
It's a unique shithole.
Yep. It's an extra smelly shithole. You know? It's a real notable shithole. I mean, if you may have seen a shithole, you ain't never seen a shithole like Louisiana does a shithole.
If you ever visit New Orleans, I highly recommend going like December to February.
I highly recommend picking anything else, bro.
It just smells like literal puke any other time of
Yeah.
year.
How about this? Pick any number of fucking cool ass places to go north of the Mason-Dixon line. How about that? You're going to be way better off. I'm just letting you know. You're going to have a better ass time. You're going to be able to see and do anything you wanted to do down there, maybe with the exception of a couple of things. Can't go see Elvis's house, but I mean, unless that's what you got to see. Stay out of there. Stay out of that whole southern area there, boy.
Like, have you ever been in a city that smells even remotely as bad as New Orleans?
I mean, New York City is pretty fucking ripe.
Yeah.
So I will say that, like, the only one that rivals it is, I just remember getting used to the smell of, like there, you just walk around New York City and you're smelling one of three things: shit, piss, or vomit. Because there's just, like, you know, a trillion goddamn people all living on top of each other, and like 1 out of 90 of them has to take a shit in the street.
Yeah. But it's not baked and like broiled like it is.
Yeah, it's just swampy and wet. Trust me, it's just as bad, but it's the only place that I've been that's just as bad.
Yeah.
The French Quarter of New Orleans in the summer, it's shit. It just smells like human shit everywhere.
Yeah. It's like fucking 300 years of vomit.
Yep. All of it baked into the flagstones and shit. Now take that and imagine like those cities, but back in like the 1800s or something. Yeah. The reek. Dude, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, there was no street sweepers and shit.
Slaughterhouses and like tanneries just like dumping offal into the streets to get rinsed away. Yeah. Just like the reek of a human city back in the fucking 18th, 19th century. It must have been fucking amazing. Probably going all the way back, I would imagine. Like, you get to a sufficiently large city, it's going to be pretty reeky.
Yeah. I don't know, like, ancient Rome had, like, their fucking shit on. Like, they had it figured out with, like, infrastructure a little bit better to make sure the waste wasn't staying.
It's still fucking reeked over there, though.
Oh, they're spraying the trees, and that's what they're doing.
Spraying what?
Like putting that shit on the trees to make it grow slower.
Oh.
The ones they just cut.
Whatever. All right, I'm out of here. Bye.